how are you planning on connecting the free agency period to tonight's proceedings, barring any trades that would make that point A to point B an obvious connect for you as the host, Rece?
You know, Rich, that's one of the difficult things is because you do the NFL draft and do it so very well. And I said in the meeting this morning that it is one area in which the NFL is better than the NBA. In that meaning, until the moratorium ends on July 6th, some of these trades can't be official until then. They find out their salary cap. You'll have a number of players tonight who are drafted by a team, but that team who goes up and calls the name of the player, that's not really the team drafting them. For instance, last year, 11 of the 30 first-round picks didn't play for the team that drafted them. You know, in some cases, it's happening right then. As I recall, we knew that the Nuggets were drafting Donovan Mitchell for the Jazz, but sometimes you don't. And it's, that's the confusing part. And to answer your question about it, that's where free agency plays in. Everybody's going to be watching what the Cavaliers do, but the honest truth, as I understand it about it, the Cavaliers have no idea whether they are drafting someone to complement LeBron or if they are drafting someone that they have that perhaps will be the cornerstone of the franchise if LeBron chooses to leave. And, the very similar situation in San Antonio right now with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I know that was part of a large part of confusion for me watching the draft coverage last year, Rece, was Woj and everybody else would say the trade's in and this team has swapped this player or these picks for this pick. And then I would watch after knowing that, as you point out, one team drafts for another player, that you would still keep on the board on your screen in any way, shape, or form with the graphic the team that had drafted him, even though we know he's playing for another team. It was so confusing to me,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you've spoken to the league about it or if there's even a thought about switching things where free agency would go first and then you have the draft later on in the summer.
That part of it we have not. I've spoken, this is my 7th year doing the draft, and I have talked to them about why can't we get to a point where, it's post-trade is what they call it. I suggested maybe it's the trade gets approved, and then if for some reason the numbers don't match up, because what holds it up is to make sure the trade is legal under the salary cap. That's what holds everything up. And until NBA legal can go through the trade and make sure it's not official. So in theory, it could be that, a team takes a player with the intention of sending him to the other, to the next destination. And in theory, the league could say, no, you can't do that. But we all know in reality that even if they did say that, but if that's the way the draft worked, the teams would find a way to add something to it to make it work. So I have suggested, so far, not to much avail, that we go ahead and say this as we know what's going to happen. If the trade's been agreed to,
right,
and it's relatively within the parameters of collective bargaining and salary cap and all of that, you just let it go. It's dramatic, as you well know. When the NFL commissioner goes to the microphone and says there's been a trade, it brings a sense of anticipation to the room, and I can only imagine what it would be like and the great atmosphere that the NBA provides for their draft every year.
So, what I think we need to do, Rece, is we as hosts, we've all got to band together and make sure that leagues make the proper rules changes to make our jobs as hosts more palatable and easier to execute. Rece, don't you think? Let's all band together.
And maybe earlier in my career I would have been more adaptable. Now in my 50s, Rich, I'm ready for them to adapt to me a little bit.
Come on, come on, Commissioner Silver, change around your league calendar to make things easier for Rece Davis to host an NBA draft for a 7th straight year.
But they do a great job of the draft. I do wish that they would fix that. And we're making a concerted effort, is one of the things we brought up today, to try to make it as clear as possible when a guy is going to be on the move. I can remember several instances over the last few years of some guy standing there in a cap for a team and doing the interview and knowing that, he's not going there. But there have also been a couple of instances, as I recall, where sometimes the guy didn't know that he was on the move. It was just still being, it was a likelihood, and he was just told he was drafted and on and on. But most of the time, they know what's happening, and they know that they're on the move.
And is it true that there is a ban on tweeting from partners of the NBA tonight before the pick is announced as to who the pick might be?
I know that the league doesn't want the picks tipped. Now, I do not know whether that is an actual hard ban or not. And I think, I might have even quoted you on this. I agree with you from a television standpoint. Now, this is me speaking personally. This is not speaking for ESPN or the league or anything else. From a television standpoint, I don't want the tips picked on television, but I could care less if somebody, or couldn't care less, I guess would be the proper English, if someone, puts it out on Twitter. I mean, sometimes I think we give a little too much credence to that type of thing. But I know the league has been sensitive to it because this is an important night, an important property for them, and they don't want the drama to be spoiled. And I understand that.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.